I play a character named Guy, who is a kind of wandering sort of scavenger that they meet in the first movie, and I fall in love with the character of Eep, who's played by Emma Stone. And Guy is a little bit more advanced than the Croods. He's been on his own forever, so he's cultivated all these other aspects of his personality and his I guess his arsenal of survival techniques are a little bit more advanced in the Croods. So he ends up being folded into their family in the first movie, and this movie is an extension of that. We pick up where we left off. Oh, it's so fun to slip back into the shoes of Guy, whatever those shoes are. I think there's some sort of hauled out bare feet or something. It's a little disturbing. It was like kind of, again, it's when you're doing a sequel to a film, it's always a great experience because so much of the blueprint and the groundwork's already been laid out for you, and you've established it in the first movie. So, I loved jumping back in there with these guys. Joel Crawford, our amazing director, and I always think of animated movies, they're like dance floors. You just get out there and you sort of freestyle. Animated movies I love because they're kind of written a little bit more slowly than a typical film. I sort of think of it like carving. You're kind of whittling away at this chunk of wood, and then it finally takes its shape and becomes the thing that it's meant to become. And that's at least my experience working on animated feature films. It's so much fun to work like that, to have that kind of time to do that as well, because they take a lot longer than a normal film. The cast is exceptional. I mean, I can't think of a more indelible voice than Nicolas Cage, or Emma Stone, or Cloris Leachman. These are all people that are legends in their own right, and the downside to working on a film like this or these animated types of films is that you don't spend a lot of time as a cast together, but you really get a sense of each other in hearing the other performances. So you're recording it over the course of 2-3 years, and you sort of have these little bookmarks along the way as to what your fellow castmates are doing with their characters, and you try to bring something to the table each time. So. I think they'll be pretty excited. I mean, the Croods in this film, in Croods 2, they meet another family called the Bettermans, and they are in fact better in many, many ways. So we go on a bit of adventure with that. It's a bit of a culture clash between these two families, and I think there's a lot of oddly relatable types of things that happen when two clans clash like this. So I think people are going to really enjoy that dynamic and that interplay between these two groups.
I play Eep, who is in the Croods family, and she is a cave girl, and she is rambunctious and ferocious and very, very brave. And she is on a big adventure in this movie. She's learning a lot about herself through love and heartbreak and making a new friend for the first time outside of her family. So it's a big journey for you in this story. It was very fun coming back to play Eat because it doesn't feel like much time has gone by at all once you get back into the room to record. It just sort of feels like we've been doing this for 10 years. So it's really, really fun. And she's so over the top and so wild that going in there is like a huge energy boost every time getting to play her. So it was it's always fun. It's always fun to play Eat. The cast itself is so fun. The original Croods cast is all back, with Nicolas Cage, Catherine Keener, Clark Duke, and there's lots of wonderful people. Ryan Reynolds, obviously, but our new additions in the Bettermans, you have Peter Dinklage and Leslie Mann and Kelly Marie Tran, and it's just they're so funny. Leslie and Peter Dinklage have some of the funniest little like sequences and lines in this movie that really had me laughing out loud, and they're just a blast. They're such a great addition to to the movie. So it was a very lucky break that they joined. My favorite was the kind of the scene where Kelly and I got to go wild and, you know, jump the wall and get into trouble, and she gets her first scar. That was really fun just because the energy builds and builds and builds and builds, and it made me laugh really hard in the room with Joel, our director. Just like recording that entire scene was so much fun. Yeah, the visuals in this one, I keep saying this, that it surprised me watching it how psychedelic it is. There's all these sort of, you know, when they get to the Bettermans area and they're in the farm and they're eating all of the food, it's just, I mean, it's hilarious because it's like a total trip that they're on. But it was so beautiful to watch, and it's so colorful, and it also introduces new colors that you didn't even see in the first movie, because you're so in sort of the caveman world in the first movie, and this just expands to a whole new palette of like aqua and pinks and things that we just didn't see before. So it's very fun to watch. Eve and Dawn, it's Eve's first ever, or I guess it's probably the first ever, because that's the fun thing about the Croods, is that everything is the first ever female friendship. They're, you know, immediately bonded, which is so beautiful. The way, you know, the way it's set up is sort of it's kind of a mislead. You think that they're gonna be fighting with each other or be competitive with each other, and they're not at all. And Eve gets so excited to have a girlfriend, and so does Dawn, and they're complete opposites, but they really complement each other. And Eve helps to bring Dawn out of her shell, and Dawn teaches Eve so much. It's just such a sweet relationship, and definitely is my favorite part of the movie. It's such a funny way to go about things. Like, how did this begin? How did this element begin? What was the first heartbreak? What was the first journal? You know, so there's a lot of great things to explore. And I think it's also so exciting for the animators and for the writers to create these animals that don't really exist, or the firsts that, you know, are like coming up with the backstory of how this happened for the first time. It's really special in the movie, and I think is what makes it so original. My favorite has always been Belt. It doesn't change. I can't help it. He's so funny and he's so cute. But there's so many great new wild animals, like the wolf spiders. That whole scene is so creepy until you realize that they're just very sweet. So yeah, there's a lot of really fun animals, and the creativity is just off the charts. I'm so excited for people to see this movie, and especially right now, it feels like a great time to, you know, have a movie that is so funny and so sweet and uplifting, and so many great messages, and you can just like, you can hang out with your family and you can watch a movie that really is very funny for adults, but also so great for kids. I think it's a great, you know, it's a great feeling that movie's coming out now. The Thunder Sisters and women bonding together is truly a tale as old as time, but one maybe you don't see. Obviously, the Thunder Sisters are in a very specific circumstance, but women banding together to get things done has been happening since forever. And it's really special to see that in a movie. You know, it's great to see women kind of swoop in and save the day. And yeah, so I think that's great for both girls and boys to see that, you know, women can do anything.